Glaren's looking decides to switch out in favor of the Gliscor. Iron Valiant, I believe, on CK Dolls' side, representing Pixelmon, Scarlet Korea, and Gliscor on Hoytman777 side, representing Astral MC. Or is it just Astral? I don't know, I can't remember. As Iron Valiant switches out in favor of the Alomomola. As the opposing side swaps into the Alomomola, I believe Astral is running a, or at least Hoytman is running a stole team here. Could be wrong, but I did see. Okay, cool. I do believe we are looking at a stole team on the side of Astral MC. See, Iron Valiant goes for the Thunderbolt, but the Alomomola does protect itself. Does also now know what's coming. Actually, going for protect twice in a row, or no? Okay, my chat's just bugged a little bit. Now at this point, you know what's coming as this Alomomola. You know that the Thunderbolt is what's coming your way, and you can't protect against it forever. While I don't believe it will kill, I don't believe it'll actually come close to killing. I don't even know if it'll do 50% if I'm honest. This is a non-stab Thunderbolt against a Alomomola. You don't necessarily want to stay in, as the Slowking does come in. Presuming the Iron Valiant goes for the Moonblast, presuming that perhaps the Gliscor is going to switch in. But no, the Slowking switches in instead, taking the Moonblast and not really caring. Still running a very tough Stole team to break through. One of the players thinking quite hard here, presumably CK Dolls, representing Pixelmon Scarlet Korea, does go for the switch, bringing in the Ting Lu as the Gliscor comes out on the opposing side. Stole teams like this are very hard to break through unless you can get a very good read. You hit them with something they're not expecting, you get a lucky crit. Or you have a unfathomable wall breaker in your team. And unfortunately for CK Dolls, they don't have the latter. And they've not yet got the former. The Gliscor does switch out in favor of the Alomomola as Tinglu sets up Stealth Rocks, which will start to hurt the Stole team a little bit, but most of that the Stole team on Hoytman's side does have recovery, as Tinglu swaps into Oh wow, this Tinglu swaps into the Galarian Slowking as the Ursaluna comes out. This is a Stole team with an Ursaluna. That's not something you see every day. The Moltres comes out on the other side and it goes down immediately to the Ursaluna's facade. Sekido's trying to predict an earthquake coming out from that Galarian Slowking, but Houtman either saying, I'm going to kill that Galarian Slowking with a facade, it's already quite low, or just saying, stuff it, I don't care. I'm predicting you're swapping, I'm pressing facade. Either way, the Moltres goes down, and the Iron Valiant comes into field. Thinking carefully, I think it might be the Ursaluna side, perhaps thinking carefully, maybe checking calcs behind the scenes, checking if a close combat will kill. Either way, it switches into a Gliscor, taking the close combat and not really caring too much. This Iron Valley is now at -1 in its defenses and can't really afford to stay in against this Gliscor. I think CK Dolls is in quite a rough place right now, really struggling to break through this Stole team and having lost one of their best pivots in the Moltres. Gliscor going for the protect, but it does fail, expecting a hit of some kind as the Tinglu comes in. The Gliscor does decide to stay in, going for the Earthquake. Despite being a crit, it doesn't do much. Tinglu is one of the best tanks of this current generation. Gliscor goes for the Defog, removing those spikes and also the rocks that were set up earlier. As the Slowking comes in, this is going to be a long match, folks. This is a stall match. Astral side is using multiple stall Pokemon, a full stall team aside from that Ursaluna, and CK Dolls has multiple stall Pokemon themselves, or at least defensively focused. This is going to likely last quite a while. Slowking goes for the pivot as the Blissey brings in the wish, either hoping, wouldn't be hoping to heal itself, but it's obviously hoping to heal something. As the Lopunny comes out Mega Evolving, forcing the Blissey out as the Alomomola comes in, taking the future sight and this close combat and almost dying, but the wish just brings it back from the brink. Unfortunate. That would have been a heavy loss on Hoytman's side. Lopunny decides to switch out into another Alomomola, taking a bit of rock damage but not caring too much as the opposing Alomomola does go for a wish. Does go for the flip turn, pivoting out. Blissey comes back in. Doesn't need the wish, perhaps expecting that Lopunny to stay in and just keep hitting with close combat. As the Gliscor comes in, taking a flip turn, taking a tiny bit of damage. Not that much though. Um, as the Iron Valiant comes back in, this is going to be a very pivot heavy match. So hazards are going to mean quite a lot. Gliscor goes for the protect. Scouting out perhaps, as well as regenning a small amount of health through Poison Heal. And then just repeatedly using Moonblast, it doesn't do much. Gliscor goes for the knockoff, removing Iron Valiant's life orb. That is going to heavily reduce the amount of damage it is able to do. Gliscor going for the Earthquake as the Galarian Slowking comes in, doing quite a big chunk of damage. As the Slowking has to be removed as a result. Well, it does take a bit of Earthquake damage, but it's not too much. CK Dolls is really struggling here. They need to, as I said before, I think they're only going to be able to really make space for themselves if they either get a really good predict, um, a lucky crit somewhere, or if they have one hell of a wall breaker in there, which judging from what we've seen, think that might have been their Megalopony and Iron Valiant. Iron Valiant is going to be doing less damage than it was due to it losing its life orb, and the Megalopony unfortunately is unable to make the space it wants to due to multiple of the Pokemon running around in Hitman's team. And the Ursaluna comes back out, hitting the Alumamola with a facade. Another facade will likely kill it. And nothing can safely switch into this Ursaluna as the Alumamola does go down. The Lopunny comes on field. Ursaluna is threatened out. So Alumamola barely takes any damage from that close combat, taking an amount of Rocky Helmet chip. Keep in mind the Lopunny has no methods of self-recovery. Most damage, if not all damage, that will be done to it is going to be permanent. But it keeps going for the close combat regardless. Bringing Lopunny down, sorry, Alumamola down into the yellow. Not quite into the red. Alumamola goes for the protect. I do believe that, yeah, that, the wish will then affect the Alumamola, bringing it back up to near full. Nobody just keeps hitting this Alumamola as it goes for a wish again. I'm expecting another protect. It's going to come back to near full. You're not going to break through it doing what you're currently doing, unfortunately. This Lopunny is lost. You've just lost one of your main things that can deal with that Blissey and the Ursaluna as well. So Lopunny decides to stay in anyway. I just realized the Lopunny died through the Rocky Helmet damage. In fact, no, it died through the Rocky Helmet damage. It's very unfortunate. So Iron Valiant comes in, and the opposing Gliscor comes in as well. And so going for the Earthquake on the Iron Valiant as it gets hit by Moonblast in return. Going for Protect, giving it some health back. Being hit by another Moonblast, take another Earthquake, and going down. I do believe this is it for Cicadol's team. I do not believe there's anything they can do from this point on, as now they've lost all of their answers to the opposing Ursaluna. I think it's over. As the Slowking comes in, but dies to the Gliscor. The Tinglu comes in too. Taking a bit of Stealth Rock damage, but not much. Sorry, taking a bit of Earthquake damage, but not much, as it sets up Stealth Rocks. Gliscor just keeps pressing Earthquake, even though it's doing so little. The Tinglu just repeatedly using Stealth Rock. I think Seekidels might have given up. I believe that's exactly what's happened. Not very common, but actually quite smart, bringing a 5 Pokemon Stole team and an Ursaluna, one of the strongest wall breakers in this generation. So Hoytman does beat CK Dolls 6-0, bringing home that first point um, for Astral MC. This is Pixelmon Scarlet Korea's first loss, and quite a decisive loss too. You believe for this next fight we are going to have Ant Smash representing Astral. I'm unsure on who we're going to see from Pixelmon. Okay, there we go. We have Ant Smash representing Astral MC and Mugung S2 representing Pixelmon Scarlet Korea. Mugung? Mugung? This is like the fifth player I've asked how to pronounce their name. If they don't answer, then that's going to be the fifth person who doesn't answer the question of how to pronounce their name. I'm going to go 5 for 5. That doesn't answer my question. That's just how it's spelt. Oh. Well, I guess we're guessing. Mugang? Go with Mugang. We'll go with Mugang. It could be Mugang, Mugang, Magoong, Mugung. I don't know. We'll go half and half with Mugang. Ant Smash versus Mugang starts. With a Gliscor lead on Ant Smash's side, representing Astral. It's probably another stall team. This is what they like to run. This is the Mawile. Very likely a Mega Mawile on the side of Pixelmon Scarlet Korea. Mawile does go for the Sword Stance, expecting the Gliscor to either switch out or go for that Protect to guarantee the Toxic Orb applies Poison Heal. Could potentially be dangerous on the side of Ant Smash, as Mega Mawile unboosted is one of the hardest hitting Pokemon that exist, full stop. Behind a Sword Stance, there are not many things that can live what it outputs. But if anything is going to live what it can output, it will be the Pokemon on the Stole team. The Gliscor goes for the Earthquake, doing a considerable amount, but not enough, as the Gliscor does go down immediately to one play rough, immediately putting a dent in this maybe not actually Stole team. With this Tapu Lele, it might not be a Stole team. Smallwell very potentially threatened depending on what this Tapu Lele is running. Going for the Z Focus Blast. Taking out that Mawile. I'm unsure if if on the side of Mugang, sorry, they didn't know that was going to kill, or if perhaps they did know but weren't willing to switch into something else to have that take the sheer amount of damage that would do instead. As the Arcanine, Hisuian Arcanine comes in. A fantastic wall breaker, actually. Potentially exactly what this team needs to break through this. Once again, might not be a potential stall team on Astral's side. Now, this Tapu Lele might need to switch out here, as this Arcanine does threaten very, very high damage, especially that we now know that this Tapu Lele is not running Scarf, but it doesn't matter. It goes for the Focus Blast. It does hit, and it does kill. That is rough. Mugang on the back foot after losing that Arcanine. Very unfortunate. Losing the Mawile was not too bad, as it did at least take out the Gliscor, but you just lost that Arcanine and didn't get any value from it whatsoever. As the Alomomola comes out, something that should be able to stand in front of this Tapu Lele without caring what it does. It does force it out as the Galarian Slowking comes in. Going for the Toxic. Can't Toxic Poison type. Snowball Flip turns out, bringing in the Latios. As the Slowking also does pivot out, bringing in the Ursaluna. Obviously, presuming that this Latios will not be able to break through this Ursaluna, and Ursaluna will absolutely be able to do the opposite. But we'll have to see.
Hello, I'm back.
Latios does flip turn out. It's not what I expected. Pivoting
This is
into the Zapdos,
interesting,
which
and
takes a facade and almost goes down.
actually, it looks like we get confirmation here. Zapdos, I think, is still alive. Yeah, it's barely surviving, meaning this next attack might actually work. Also, hello everyone, I am back, and I just realized I came back to Ant Smash absolutely cooking right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mugang has already lost a few Pokemon. Did have a Mega Mawile lead, did set up Sword Stance and took out the Gliscor lead on the opposing side. But did get taken out by a Z Focus Blast Tapu Lele, and then tried to retort with Hisuian Arcanine, but the Tapu Lele just used Focus Blast again and took out the Arcanine, with the Arcanine getting no value.
Focus Miss can be brutal at times. Here comes the Zapdos with hidden power. Of course, in comes the Blissey once again. Are we potentially looking at a balanced team here instead of just stall? It looks like that's the
I
case.
believe if it's anything like it was the last match, it seems to be a full stall team. With the last one was a full
Oh,
stall team with just an Ursaluna. So it's 5 stall and 1 Ursaluna. This one appears to be potentially 4 stall, a Tapu Lele, and an Ursaluna.
you say that, but
Or
keep in
Space
mind, Gliscor
Rose.
can run offensive sets.
It wasn't an offensive set. It wasn't an offensive set from what we saw. It did seem to be the standard utility stall set. And remember, this is Astral MC. This is a team that has already become infamous for using stall, as the last match was a stall match from them.
However, keep in mind, we already have a major offensive lead here from Ant Smash. Even if they are using stall here, that offensive pressure was very much enough to give Ant Smash the lead here. And it looks like Blissey going for the wish. We'll have to see what they pivot into.
Zapdos will likely be forced out here as it can do little to nothing to this Blissey. But we've already lost two physical attackers on Mugang's side, the Mega Mobile and the Hisuian Arcanine. It makes you think, how many physical attackers in that team are left?
Oh, there we go.
Can they
In
break
comes the
through this Blissey?
Ursaluna.
The Latios and the Ursaluna both come back in. Latios using Flip Turn last time I saw it. Could be physically invested, could be mixed. I'm unsure.
I would imagine we might potentially see a repeat of what happened last time, where we saw Flip turn into Zapdos. We got confirmation earlier that Zapdos did in fact survive. Ursaluna actually going for a Draco here,
Almost
attacking the
killing, but
Latios.
the Ursaluna just surviving. Also taking burn damage. It is extremely low. It will die in one more turn from burn damage, I believe. And will die to basically anything hitting it at all. However, that is probably a worthwhile trade, as Ant Smash has now taken out the Latios as well. So Clodsire comes in, potentially a risky choice, as this Clodsire likely will probably die to an Earthquake from this Ursaluna, or at least take a lot of damage. But
However,
that may
Clodsire
make you think that Mugang might not have anything left on their team that can actually anything better to deal with this Ursaluna. As they've already lost three Pokemon.
What he goes for. Oh, potentially trying to bait out an Earthquake, actually.
Taking out the the Ursaluna, deciding to keep it alive for later. Despite the fact that it's only got one turn left to live. As the Blissey does come out and the Zapdos Volt switches out. I believe the only Pokemon left on Mugang's side are a Zapdos and a Alomomola and something, and the Clodsire. This is going to be a very tough battle for them. With no physical Pokemon at all, actually. I don't think they're going to be able to break through this Blissey.
Actually, keep in mind, this Ursaluna can no longer safely come in, even with a wish. As a Clodsire does land the Toxic here, the question remains, is this unaware or water absorbed?
I think the only thing that can break through this Alomomola is that Zapdos. But I don't think anything on Mugang's side can break through that Blissey. I think that Blissey alone does take a bit of Earthquake damage, but not enough to really care. Can just be wished away quite easily.
Keep in mind, something to keep in mind, however, is that Toxic can come out, once again forcing out the Blissey here. And if Ant Smash is not careful, there could be some damage coming in from Earthquake that might be able to set things around. In comes Tapu Lele and Clodsire, of course, landing the Toxic. We're seeing a good amount of...
will be forced out, though. If this Clodsire stays in, it will die, given that Tapu Lele does press a Psychic type move here. Zapdos can come in and take a hit without, probably will care, but probably won't kill. The Alomomola probably can come in relatively safely. But the Clodsire cannot stay in.
So the question remains, what is going to happen in this situation? With the offensive pressure right now on Ant Smash's team, things are not looking good for Mugung here. Although we can get a confirmation that it won't be 6-0. So we'll have to see how things are affected
It's very interesting because the team is, normally when you look at a balanced team, it's kind of a mix of, the Clodsire stays in, taking the Psyshock and dying. Not sure if that was worthwhile. There is a chance that Mugang is giving up,
Here comes the slow king and
as
flipping out.
last time that a similar thing happened last match where the Pixelmon Scarlet Korea player, seeing that they had no way of winning, essentially just pressed moves that didn't do anything, repeatedly pressing Stealth Rock until they died. Zapdos does come in. It's very interesting because usually when you see a mixed team, it's kind of a mix of everything. You have some defensive cores in there and offensive Pokemon, and you have a lot of options. But this is a team that has hard stole in it, some of the toughest stole Pokemon to break through, and some of the most hyper offensive, crazy Pokemon that you can see in a Z focus blast Tapu Lele and a Guts Ursaluna, some of the hardest hitting wall breakers. You have the two highest, the highest and the lowest parts of the spectrum of hyper offense and stall on this team, and it is working very well. As Hugang is unable to really make any space for themselves, and anytime they try, a wall is put up in their face. As the Slowking does go for the Future Sight and Sludge Bomb spam repeatedly.
I would imagine that even with a ruse, the combination of Sludge Bomb and Future Sight might be enough to KO the Zapdos here.
Mugang will be able to walk away knowing that they have at least taken out one Pokemon on Ant Smash's side. It will not be a 6-0 like the previous game was.
Here comes a Sludge Bomb, and Zapdos, there we go, has been poisoned. Although I'm not sure how much is going to matter in this next turn. Even if Zapdos roosts, the combination of Sludge Bomb and Future Sight will probably be enough to KO.
Yep, there goes. As only the Alomomola remains, and an Alomomola is not capable of 1v5ing.
Looks like we got confirmation here. It looks like this is game, set, and match. And there we go. We have a Mola once again coming out with the flip turn. However,
I do
keep in mind,
believe Ant Smash is wanting to play this as safe as possible, wanting to guarantee that 5-0. All that Alomomola can really do is its only offensive move is flip turn. And while it does have wishes and protects and toxics, they won't amount to much. So Slowking does come in, hitting with a Sludge Bomb, doing a significant amount.
I believe this is game,
Mugung,
set, and
yep,
match, everyone. Ant Smash defeating Mugung with 5 Pokemon remaining. And despite what we said, even if it is technically considered stall, that was definitely a much cleaner match than we've seen from other matches in the past, especially ones that were resorted into minor stall wars. Honestly, I'm kind of interested to see how the rest of Astral's team pulls this off.
yes, that's two matches in a row where it's been a team that has been majority stall, but with one or two Pokemon in there that are some of the hardest hitting hyper offense Pokemon that exist. It's a very, very interesting team composition, but it is working out very well for them. As Pixelmon Scarlet Korea, a team that did go 3-0 in their initial game, or their initial match against, I believe it was Unlinked. I could be wrong with that, but I think it was Unlinked, and is struggling to make any space at all against this very interesting strategy from Astral. But they have one more match. It'd be very unfortunate after Pixelmon Scarlet Korea's initial showing of a 3-0 to lose 0-3 and reset their points back to 0. It'd be very unfortunate. But it may very well happen. We'll have to see with this next match with manager representing Pixelmon Scarlet Korea, who is Pixelmon Scarlet Korea's manager, by the way. Manager is their team manager. And Sizar representing Astral MC.
Now this is going to be interesting. If Astral is running similar teams as we've seen thus far, it might be potentially we see a very optimistic change here as we see much more interesting kind of stall play out rather than complete stall. Keep in mind, everyone, we haven't seen Cesar's team yet, but I am very much optimistic to see how things play out here.
But also on the same side, Pixelmon Scarlet Korea now knows what Astral is doing. Although they could change it up in this final match, there is a good chance they won't. As Pixelmon Scarlet Korea does know the general compositions that Astral has been bringing, they may bring a different team that can suit that better. We'll have to see. I do remember that in his match against Unlinked, Manager had some incredible reads and some amazing plays. We'll have to see if that sort of thing can play over, because when you're facing a stall that you just can't break through, the only way that you're going to break through that is if you get a lucky crit or a very good read. And I think Manager is definitely capable of the latter. We'll have to see how this goes. Interestingly enough, this is actually oh, never mind. I misread. I just saw the blue names. I thought this was manager versus manager, but it's not. It's assistant versus manager. I have to see how this goes. Either way, regardless of the results of this, Astral will look very good on the boards with so far 4 victories to their name. They're either going to walk away from this with 4 victories and 2 losses, or 5 victories and 1 loss. Either way, they'll be looking great on the boards.
Looks like both trainers are deciding their teams now.
The teams are ready. Both players have confirmed they are ready. They're obviously just getting team previews behind the scenes. And hopefully, with Team Pixelmon Scarlet Korea, they are looking at what they've they're looking at the team that the opposing side is using and are feeling confident about it as the match does begin.
There we go. Once again, we start off with Gliscor here on Sizer's team. Now this is going to be interesting. We're starting off with Mega Metacham here. I don't know if it'll has
Another
anything
wall breaker.
that can break through Protect, but of course the question remains.
I did
Gliscor,
see
of course,
on the last match, it looked like Mugang was trying to bring multiple very high damaging wall breakers, but their sets were there were too many things in there that were defensive that could really open up those opportunities for those wall breakers, and also they died quite soon into the battle. Once they were gone, it was kind of over for them. Seeing this Mega Metacham, I'm assuming there's going to be multiple wall breakers on Manager's team, especially from what they've been fighting against. Wall breakers is what they need. So Gliscor does go for the Protect, guaranteeing that the Toxic Orb applies Toxic, and also getting some interesting scouting information. Knowing that this Metacham is going for an Ice Punch, they definitely know that this Gliscor is heavily threatened and will switch it into something else. Manager will have to get a good read onto what that switch will be. So that Metacham is huge, goddamn.
There we go. Swapping into
Corbinite
as
they go for the Zen headbutt. Unfortunately, not a good predict.
Keep in mind though, Thunder Punch will be dealing sizable damage here. If that's the amount of damage that was dealt to Corbinite, and I believe that was a quarter, I do think Thunder Punch might be enough to KO if this Medicham is running it.
Potentially. But of course, if it is running it and it clicked it that turn, it would have been fantastic for that Medicham and doing that high damage immediately on switch in. But instead, it did go for the Zen Headbutt. Um, Obviously, there's something on that team of Unlinked um, being used by Sizer that likely is weak to Psychic types, which is likely why that move was pressed.
I would imagine in most cases it would
As
be
the
either.
Medicham
There we
switches
go,
out, and the
swapping over to the
Alolan
Toxapex as
Ninetales.
Alolan Ninetales comes out.
Is actually this Toxapex is threatened by the Alolan Ninetales capabilities of Freeze Dry. And this Alolan Ninetales is obviously looking to set up, usually looking to set up screens, so that wall breakers and setup sweepers can set up uncontested, and that's exactly what happens as the light clay is knocked off of of Ninetales, meaning that Aurora Veil will not last as long, but it
Of
will
course, the
probably
question
still last
remains:
enough to set up.
does this Ninetales potentially have Nasty Plot on it? If that's the case, this Toxapex is very much threatened.
The knockoff there, a pretty good choice. Getting rid of that light clay on the Ninetales will reduce the utility it can bring to its team, but also at the same time, Toxapex's running knockoff is quite uncommon nowadays due to other moves usually being favorable instead, and it makes you wonder what is the Toxapex not running to make that
Ninetales using
possible. Going for
Encore
the
here
Encore,
to
forcing
deal.
knockoff to forcing it, locking it into knockoff repeatedly. I don't know if that's a good choice or not. So that does mean whatever Pokemon that you're going to switch into will be knocked off. Perhaps if you have a Z Stone user in there somewhere, they can safely come in. And of course, you do have your Mega Medicham as well.
Another thing to keep in mind, we're not certain what this Ninetales could be running. I don't know if something like Freeze Dry would be enough to threaten this Toxapex, because we are not certain if this is a physical or special attacker. In comes the Medicham, and in comes the Blissey. An incredible read on Manage's part. This is potentially the reads we were seeing earlier,
I
everybody.
think locking it into that knockoff was actually probably trying to make space for this Medicham to come in, as this Medicham coming into a toxic wouldn't have been ideal. Just taking a little bit of chip and an item not being removed would have been far more advantageous. And now I think I know why they went for that Zen headbutt. It was because of that Toxapex.
That certainly could be the case. However, keep in mind, we still have Medicham here. And we know from past precedents, listen, going for protect, what does this Medicham go for? Medicham, of course, going for close combat. This Blissey is trying to survive as long as possible. However, I do think potentially this whatever hits this Blissey is going to threaten it with either massive damage or even a straight up knockout.
I expect this Bliss is probably going to switch out, and I suspected that Protect was probably scouting as well as burning through a turn of Aurora Veil. As remember that Aurora Veil will not be lasting for as long as manager would like it to last, as the light clay of Alolan Ninetales was knocked off. This Medicham could make amazing space, and I think what's probably happening right now is Sizar is choosing who he wants to switch the Blissey into and thinking carefully because the Toxapex is dangerous.
There we
If
go. Here
Zen
comes the
Headbutt
glide
is
score. And Zen
he goes for
Headbutt
Zen Headbutt,
is.
doing a lot.
I do think depending on the move here, obviously Protect will get it a little more turns of a little more recovery here. Even Roost though, however, is that a risk that is wants to be made by Sizark here? Glasgow, of course, going for Protect one final time as Medicham goes for the Ice Punch, potentially to either burn the Protect turn. What does Medicham go for here? As I do think potentially another Zen Headbutt might be enough to KO. We'll have to see what Sizar pivots into here.
We've seen 3 of the 4 moves of this Medicham. We've seen Close Combat, Zen Headbutt, and Ice Punch. That last move has still not been revealed.
What does the Gliscor potentially go for here? As I do think with that Zen Headbutt pivot, it is now in range for a knockout. Ice Punch comes out. He's choosing to sack the Gliscor.
Oh, I think potentially expecting the Medicham to use something else, expecting the Gliscor to switch out. But no, they decide to just go for the Ice Punch and risk it. Risk perhaps, hitting the Toxapex with negligible damage, or the Corviknight with unsatisfactory damage. But no, stays in with the Corviknight and gets punished
Ooh.
for it as the Dondozo comes in. Now, this is something that Mega Medicham might not be able to break through, as the physical bulk of a Dondozo is quite scary.
Do keep in mind though, we do have pure power, and I'm just gonna do some damage
I don't.
calculating
I'm
in the
aware
back
that it
here.
has pure power. That's why its wall breaking potential is so high. But even with pure power, I don't think it'll be in. The tanky capabilities of Dondoza are crazy, and even with a Thunder Punch, it not having access to stab Thunder Punch might mean that it cannot do the damage it wants to do to really put this thing in its place. One
That
of the
is
users is thinking hard right now as the turn is going on for quite a while. As the Medicham does switch out, coming in favor with the Glamora, as the Dondozo goes for liquidation. It is super effective against the Glamora, but doesn't do too much, meaning this Glamora is likely a tanky utility set, and that liquidation causes the toxic spikes to go on the ground. And Aurora Veil officially fades. Actually, no, it's probably not. Well, it might be a tanky Glamora, but the reason it took so little damage wasn't because it was a tanky Glamora. It's because of Aurora Veil. I forgot about that. I thought it went down earlier.
that is true, but given that it did a little under 40%, chances are Glamora still had a chance of
Mm-hmm.
surviving. Things are potentially looking very good for this Dondozo here.
I will say, out of all of the fights so far from Pixelmon Scarlet Korea, this is definitely the one that's been going most in their favor so far. But Sizar is not letting up. Uh, Manager intentionally sacrificing the Glamora to set up rocks. Presumably, Sizar has no way of clearing them, as I personally would not have gone for sacrificing the Glamora to set up rocks if I wasn't confident they'd stay in for the rest of the match. But we have 1 layer of toxic spikes, 2 layers of toxic spikes actually, and stealth rock set up on Sizar's side. Now, manager does have a free switch in here. They have something that can easily threaten a Dondozo out. What we've seen so far is a Mega Medicham, a Glamora, and we saw something tanky that I can't remember. Right, the Alolan Ninetales. So Ninetales does come in potentially threatening this Dondozo actually, as Dondozos usually focus primarily into physical bulk. As this Ninetales very well may threaten. And it may also just go for the Aurora Veil as the Toxapex comes in.
This is going to be interesting. Toxic, of course, absorbing the toxic spikes here.
As
However,
the
do keep in
Ninetales
mind.
does go for Aurora Veil.
However, keep in mind this Ninetales is still threatened, but this Ninetale does threaten it with freeze dry. Is that a risk this Toxapex wants to take here?
The Aurora Veil is set back up. I suspect we still have the Gliscor, we still have the Blissey, 2 Pokemon that can just protect through and stall through multiple of the Aurora Veil turns.
Not quite, actually. I believe we saw earlier, Gliscor did feint to Medicham's Ice
Right,
Punch.
yes. Well, the Blissey still exists. It can stall through at least one turn. Um, However, this Medicham is crucial for Manager's capabilities here. It threatens the Toxapex, it threatens the Blissey, and chances are, seeing as we haven't seen many other things come out from Sizar's side, it threatens more behind the scenes as well.
That
If
certainly
it's running
can be
Thunder Punch,
true.
it can potentially threaten the Corviknight, and I believe it would likely beat the Corviknight with close
Oh my
combat in
goodness,
Pro
what a
Battle as the
read!
Espeon comes out
Correct me
expecting
if
the
I'm
Toxic
wrong.
Spikes, bouncing them back.
We get confirmation that this Espeon is in fact Magic Bounce, but this is
Mhm.
interesting. Does this Espeon potentially have boots, maybe, in order to prevent other kinds of hazards? We're not certain what this Espeon has, but this could be interesting. As this Toxapex,
Toxapex is threatened out here. Without a doubt, it is threatened out. Um, as this Espeon can almost certainly, depending on its EV spread, can almost certainly one-shot it. I expect
although
perhaps the
I
Blissey to come in.
that is true. However, something I'm not entirely certain about is what set this Espeon could be running.
Mhm.
As for all we know, it could be running Psyshock and thus threatening
As the
Blissey in
Corviknight
that
does come
manner.
out, as the Espeon goes for the Z Celebrate. It's the Z Celebrate Espeon. Depending on what moves this Espeon has, this could actually do very, very high damage to Sizar's team. Can it threaten a Corviknight, though? I don't know. Does Espeon get access to Thunderbolt? Don't know if it does.
Now this might be interesting. Running Z Celebrate here is certainly a difficult choice.
See, the main issue with running Z Celebrate on Espeon is that Espeon is can it's not a very it's quite frail and it can be very difficult to actually get the Z Celebrate going, find an opportunity to actually use it. But Manager has managed to find an excellent opportunity. The Corviknight does switch out, bringing the Blissey's. The Espeon goes for the Calm Mind. That is two status moves it has.
Could this potentially be running a stored power set in an attempt to overwhelm
Very
the
potentially.
team?
If it is, then a Store Power will do very high damage here, even to a Pokemon like Blissey.
Keep in mind too, Blissey's only good offensive option is Seismic Toss. So the question remains: if this Espeon does this Espeon potentially have Morning Sun to recover, or is it running coverage here? Out comes Blissey, and in comes the Clodsire as
Clodsire
Espeon goes for the
goes
Sword
for
Power,
Sword
enough to
Power,
knock out
completely
Claude.
killing it.
Things are looking, things might potentially be looking very bad.
The
Keep in
Roar
mind,
Veil does go
although
down, but does that really matter? Is there anything on Sizar's team that can actually break through this Blissey? It can actually threaten as the Blissey does come in, taking a bit of rock chip. It is at 68%. As it goes
in
for the
comes
Sword
Sword
Power,
Power,
almost kills it. Goes for the
however, the
Seismic
Blissey did
Toss.
not
It does
heal,
not do much. The
and
Blissey
I
will be
don't.
almost forced to switch out or protect this turn. Either way, it's probably dying the turn after.
Another thing to keep
Does
in
go for the
mind
protect.
is, although Dondozo does in fact have Unaware, I imagine Sword Power might either KO it here and now, or at the very least deal enough damage to where it'd be forced to rest.
So I do believe, although the special attack boosts are affecting stored power will not affect an unaware Pokemon,
There we
the
go.
base
Corviknight
power
taking
of it
damage from Stealth
will.
Rock and Sword Power once again fainting.
This Espeon might be sweeping from here. Espeon with Z Celebrate, Calm Mind, Stored Power is clearly an extremely strong combination. But as I said, it's a Pokemon that's so hard to actually get that off in the first place. Only someone that can manage some fantastic reads can really get this up outside of sheer luck. And with that Espeon coming into the toxic spikes earlier and bouncing it back. That is the fantastic read I'm talking about. Espen going for the sword power, killing the
That
toxic
certainly
spikes. Is
is
there
true. However,
anything
keep in
left
mind,
on Caesar's team that can survive this? I think the Dondozo is the only thing that has a chance of surviving this.
though, even if it does attempt to get a revenge KO here, it doesn't even matter. The sword power still KOs. And I do think we finally found our stall breaker here in the form of Espeon, of all things, which is very rarely used. Well play on manager's part. And it
Manager
looks
winning
like
5-0, managing to get some points back on the board for Pixelmon Scarlet Korea. They will not be going down with a 3-win, 3-loss streak. They will be with 4 wins and 2 losses, making sure that they do have some points on the boards.
that was a very impressive display of talent, being able to fully break through the stall team, which in the matches prior was completely undefeatable. I don't
I
think
don't think we've had any match so far in the tournament where a stall team has actually lost, aside from right there. I think it's the first time we've had it so far. Some fantastic reads on manager's side. That's the sort of talent we'd love to see here at the Pixelmon World Cup.
we'll have to see for ourselves whether or not Scarlet pick. Oh my gosh, I'm having a moment. We'll have to
Pixelmon
see if
Scarlet.
Scarlet is able to potentially claw back up to the first position after Astral. Of course, both these trainers have done amazing improvements from their last series
I
of
do believe
teams.
these teams are now even in the leaderboards, with Astral MC at 4 losses. Sorry, 2 losses and 4 wins, and Pixelmon Scarlet Korea also at 2 losses and 4 wins. They are even.
Well, we'll certainly have to see how things are changing as we watch this metagame develop. We see a bunch of new Pokemon, sure, but we also see completely different play styles. Going for a little bit of a more of a offensive kind of stall potentially from Astral, and of course we saw earlier all kinds of weird teams, at least coming from Scarlet. We'll have to see whether things change on the fly for each of them. Of course,
We do have more matches, none today, and also none tomorrow either. Our next set of matches are 2 days from now. You can check the exact schedule by joining the Discord. You can find the Discord on the website, which is linked in the Twitch description. The next matches will be between Smash MC and Coliseumon, Poke Valley, and Pokenova.
keep in mind that is for Monday. Actually, I can partly confirm right now. We do have some round 2 matches coming tomorrow.
Oh right, yeah, no, I apparently can't read.
Of course. Coming up tomorrow at noon, at least for Eastern Standard Time, will be Hexagon MC versus Unsorted. And if I'm looking right now, it's Pixelmon Go versus Pokeslam coming in afterwards at I believe 3 p.m. or rather 2:30.
Once again,
So
you should
this so
join. You should join the Discord to see the exact times and schedules. Time zones aren't consistent. All of these teams, we are now in. By the way, I will say, I don't think this has actually been said yet. We are now in round 2 of the starting today. We are in round 2 of the group stages, as the teams are now going into their second fights. As for many teams, it is their make or break moment, as many teams did not perform very well in their first fights, unfortunately, and if they don't perform well now, then they're in a very rough situation. We had that earlier, where we had Unlinked, who went 0-3 on their first matches, but they went 3-0 on their second matches, bringing them up to a neutral 0 overall on the boards, which has absolutely saved their prospects and does absolutely mean they are in possibility of making it into the final bracket. We do have more matches tomorrow. I did mess that up. My apologies. Once again, check the Discord. If you want to support the World Cup, you can do so on the website. We do have a sponsors section. Any help is appreciated. I do believe that's all for today.
Of course, we've been your commentators, Delta and Alba, and we hope we'll see you tomorrow for another series of very exciting and, at least in this case, some very important battles coming up. Signing out, everyone.
Yep. See you tomorrow.